All right, let's get to work. So glad to have you here. Okay, so this is our official beginning. Now, you'll see here on my screen a little printout that I have for you. This is available for you to download. It's under this video. Should be, anyway, unless I've done something wrong with the tech stuff. Excuse me. But it's important to go ahead and download this and print it out just so you can follow along and fill in the blanks here. This is going to help cement everything we're going over. And I want to give you a little bit of a warning. This first little section here, and literally just this video specifically, is going to deal a little bit with some psychological stuff, and it might get a little ethereal feeling for a minute. This is the only video like this in this module. Everything else is very tactical and strategic and step-by-step, and we're going to be creating. But I think it's important before we create and before we start attracting people into your systems, I think it's important to really define who it is exactly that you want so we can get just them. Doesn't that make sense? So let's go ahead and begin this official presentation. So part one here is defining your ideal customer. Now we need to understand some facts about building a list and having a list and doing marketing and really generating, for lack of a better phrase, a herd of subscribers and fans and followers, right? And here they are. First of all your subscribers are not created equal. If you had 100,000 people on a list, it doesn't mean they're all the exact same type of person, the exact same makeup, the exact same desires, and the exact same likelihood to buy. A lot of that has to do with source. And by source, I mean where you get these subscribers from, whether they're from advertising, what media you use, whether they're joint venture generated, whether they're generated from syndication and other products, etc. And speaking of subscribers, we're not actually in the subscriber getting business, and we're not in the list building business. We're ultimately in the business of making sales. And the truth about your list is, well, there's really a lot to discuss there. First of all, contrary to what you've heard, the money is not actually in the list. I know people who want to sell you list building stuff like to say, if you have a list, you'll get money. The secret to money is getting a list. Well, it's good to have a list, but the money is not actually in the list. The money is in the relationship that you have with your list. And that relationship is created by the value that you provide to your list. Therefore, really, the money is ultimately in the value that you provide to your list. However, even with that said, some subscribers that you get, they're not going to buy no matter what you do. And some of them are ready to buy right now. So with all of that said, our mission is to identify the characteristics of people who are most likely to buy from you in the immediate future. It's also to simultaneously identify the characteristics of those who are not likely to buy, and even to a degree, identify the characteristics of those who you do not want to buy. And once we have that, everything we're going to do, aside from, of course, establishing goodwill and providing value, everything we're going to do is to be magnetic to your buyers and repulsive to your non-buyers. And that sounds weird, and I'll go over that a little bit more in detail for you here in a minute. So let's talk about getting into the mind of your prospects, all right? So here's the thing. We attract people into our businesses, into our funnels, for lack of a better word, because they're looking for a solution. They're looking for a result, right? So if you go back to the fundamentals of building a database of prospects, we get them by offering cool free stuff. And that cool free stuff is usually information, and that information is usually about how to solve a problem, how to get a result, right? Ultimately, it's about how to fulfill a desire. Desire is a big, big deal. A lot of, if not all of, your prospects' decisions and actions are ultimately going to be related to their desire and their perception of whether or not you can move them closer to it. So desire is very, very important and very worth us studying and discussing. Now, when it comes to your crowd, really any market, they have two different types of desires. They have one that's called a surface desire, and then beneath that desire, they have something that I'll refer to as a core desire. I don't know why I put desire twice there in that little square. It's just a core desire. I guess I like to be redundant when I repeat myself. So let's talk about the surface desire. So if we were to look at, say, the internet marketing crowd, right? And I'll use this niche, this marketplace, specifically because we're part of it, you and I, and it's something we're familiar with. So if you look at the internet marketing crowd, what is their surface desire? What are they really talking about all the time that they want, right? Well, it's going to be more sales, it's going to be more money, it's going to be more traffic, it's going to be more subscribers, etc. Those are all surface desires. But if you look deeper, they're going to have one primary emotional core motivating desire that's really causing their want for all that other stuff, right? And every market's the same, by the way. This works regardless of whether you're in financial planning, whether you're in raw food, whether you're in dating advice. It has no difference at all. It's all the same psychology. Okay, so the way to really figure out the core desire, the real emotional thing that's driving their behavior, is to find the answer to this statement. So pretend you're your ideal prospect or customer and answer this. Fill in the blanks here. If I could just what? Right? So if you're in the business of fixing relationships and your ideal customer is a woman in a bad relationship, maybe this answer would be, if I could just make him listen. Right? If you are in the health and wellness industry and your target market is women over 40 who are 20 pounds overweight, right? Maybe it could be, if I could just get into the dress I used to wear. Who knows, right? Only you are going to know. But let's examine the internet marketing niche, right? Because we all know this niche. We're all part of it. We either work in it or we consume within it as customers and students. So if you look at that marketplace, what do you think goes here? If I could just what? Well, I can tell you from 15 years of experience, if you were to isolate the beginner segment of that marketplace and even the part-timer segment of that marketplace, the answer to this question would be, if I could just quit my job. And then even if you went to the full-time part, the guys who have graduated from having a job and doing it part-time to now who are full-time online entrepreneurs, it would be, if I could just stop doing the stuff that sucks. So if I could just quit doing customer service, if I could quit doing live presentations, if I could quit traveling so much, whatever it may be, right? So let's examine the beginners. If I could just quit my job. Now, when you have the answer, the completed sentence there, if I could just whatever, if I could just quit my job, if I could just fit into that dress, if I could just make him listen, whatever it is, we need to take that sentiment and try to boil it down to one word. And you don't have to use this word in your marketing. It's just to really crystallize the underlying psychological driver of your marketplace. So when we look at the part-timer or beginner internet marketing crowd, and we know that complete sentence is, if I could just quit my job, if I could just make enough to quit my job, man, that would be great, right? What does that crystallize into? What is one word that could describe that desire, that sentiment? What's the true thing they're craving there? Well, I believe the answer is freedom, right? Now, you might have a different interpretation. You might be in a completely different market. In fact, you likely are, right? So your answer here is going to be different. But it is very important to begin to get an idea of what this crystallized core emotional driver within your marketplace is. And the reason why is because this one word summation of their core desire, this needs to be at the forefront of all your marketing. Now, you don't have to say it all the time. You don't have to have it in your headlines, but they need to associate you with this, right? Whether it's through your imagery, whether it's through the automated campaigns that we're going to deploy after they become your subscriber, whether it's by the stuff that you talk about in your bribes, in your solutions, whether it's your overall positioning in the marketplace, they need to associate you with this primary emotional driver. They need to see you as someone who's going to help them move towards this. So therefore, it needs to be something that you stand for. And speaking of standing for something, as we can continue our discussion on buyer psychology, there's an interesting duality that exists. We need to stand for something, and we also need to stand against something. We need that polarity. And a better way to describe it is, we need to stand for something that is magnetic to our perfect buyers, and we need to stand against something that is repulsive to those that we don't want. And isn't that a strange thing to talk about, being repulsive to someone? Like, why would you want to be repulsive to anyone? Don't we want everyone to like us? Well, in reality, no. We absolutely do not. Being repulsive to the people that you don't want achieves multiple ends. First of all, it makes you even more magnetic to buyers. Okay, so here's how I can illustrate this. We've got two big political parties in America, right? So Republicans and Democrats. Now, I'm not a political guy, so I'm going to give you my interpretation of politics, which may or may not be accurate, but the fundamental principle I'm displaying certainly is. So on one hand, you've got the, what do you call them, the Democrats, right? The Democrats are big government, lots of legislation, lots of rules, you know, the Obamacare stuff, the redistribution of wealth, quote unquote, right? There's a lot of public service type stuff where, hey, let's create funding to help these people who don't have jobs or whatever. So that's where the Democrats are, as a very generalized statement. Now, again, I'm not a political guy, so I could be off on that. It's irrelevant whether or not this is factually accurate. Just pay attention to the psychology. So on the other end of that spectrum, we have the Republicans, right? And the Republicans are get rid of gun control, get rid of big government. Let's put a cap on all this crazy bureaucratic regulation stuff. Hell no, we don't want to redistribute wealth. We work like hell. Why should we have to pay more in taxes to support lazy bastards without jobs? What else are those dudes all about? I guess that pretty much sums it up, right? Yay business, hooray entrepreneurial stuff, boo bureaucracy, no redistribution of wealth. Yes, big advocate of private enterprise. So let's say that we're wanting to make ourselves even more attractive to Republicans, right? Well, one thing we could do is we could go and we could say, yeah, private enterprise is great. We should have private enterprise. That's exactly right. You know, and there's no reason for us to be taxed higher than everybody else. That's silly and all that kind of stuff. But we could bond even stronger with them by saying, you know what? I'm with you. Private enterprise is great. And these scumbags who are trying to take away the money we've worked so hard to create by providing jobs for our communities and adding value to our society, these degenerate communist criminals who are trying to steal from us to feed these other worthless scumbags who just want to suck off the government teat deserve to live in another country and let us real people take this back over like the founding fathers intended, right? Now, I'm really playing that up a little bit, but here's what that's going to do. First of all, anyone who's a Democrat, right, who subscribes to the what I think the Democratic beliefs are, again, I really have no idea, nor do I care, but they're going to be like, well, we don't want to have anything to do with this guy. He's an asshole. Well, who cares, right? We don't want them. But my gosh, the hardcore Republicans, upon hearing you say all this bad stuff about what the Democrats believe, they're going to love you even more, you see. So there's a lot of money in polarity. Now, you don't have to take it that extreme, but we do need to be repulsive to non-buyers, even for another reason, and that is it keeps you from having them in your business, and it keeps you from wasting money and time by advertising to them. It keeps you from wasting time and money and effort by attracting them. And of course, the last thing you want is to have them as customers because they're going to be horrible customers, right? So all of this kind of stuff has to do with the formulation and the foundation of your identity in the marketplace, right? And your identity in the marketplace is basically going to be what you stand for and what you stand against. And I know we're kind of getting a little bit ahead of it in here, but it's important to understand that as we create stuff in this class, and as we create these magnets that are going to attract the right people, and as we create marketing that's going to advertise them, and as we create automated behavioral dynamic response campaigns that not only build goodwill and position you as an authority and help people get the results, that we're also going to be doing all of that with this wrapper of your identity around it, right? So as they consume this, they further identify with you, they further view you as a celebrity and authority, and they bond to you. And being repulsive to the bad guys and being magnetic to the good guys is a classic way to get that to happen. So I've given you an exercise. I've given you several, actually, in the handout here. And one of them is kind of this little box where it's got these little smaller boxes in there. And it looks something like this. On one hand, you have the magnetic to. Actually, in my exercise, I put it as cool. And on the other hand, you have it as not cool, right? So what I want to do is just kind of give you an example and encourage you to fill in the blanks on your own here. So I'll give you an example from my business. I want to be magnetic to people who want freedom, right? Why would I want that? Well, that's my perfect demographic. I'm talking about building systems that can emancipate you from drudgery. So naturally, freedom-loving people, not in terms of patriotic America freedom, although I personally hold that in very high value, but from freedom from business drudgery, freedom from enslavement of job that you hate. I want people who resonate with that. Right? I don't want the corporate types. In fact, I want to be repulsive not only to the corporate types, I want to be repulsive to like the business opportunity or bottom feeder person. Right? Now, there's nothing wrong with a solid business opportunity. Heck, starting your own business is essentially a business opportunity, whether it's you're starting a shoe store, a hamburger stand, or an internet business where you're selling information. It's the same thing. What I'm talking about being repulsive to for me personally is the biz-op mentality. The customers who want to chase the next shiny object, do nothing with it, and respond to and perpetuate hype in the marketplace. I call them bottom feeders. So I want to be repulsive to them, right? Now, why would I want to be repulsive to them? Well, first of all, the clients that I want, which are going to be customers who value leadership, who want to place themselves in a position of leadership and earn that leadership and authority in their marketing communities, they also are going to not want anything to do with the bottom feeders. So by my being repulsive to them and speaking out against them in my marketing and say, hey, if you're a biz op bottom feeder, this isn't for you, that's going to make the leadership-oriented people more strongly attracted to me. Does that make sense? So also I want to be repulsive to the something for nothing crowd, right? And instead I want to be magnetic to those who value hard work. I want to be repulsive to the guys who are going to respond to the ads that say, hey, if you're still broke, lazy, and stupid, even though you've bought everything under the sun, it's not your fault. It's those gurus. They're not telling you the whole story. See, I don't want those guys because there's another crowd who's also bought everything under the sun and made a fortune. It ain't the material they're buying. It's the person, it's the brain that material's going into. So I don't want that victim blame person. I want them to go buy from someone else or hopefully quit buying altogether and just get to work, right? So I want, and also, incidentally, the person who is going to be a hard work-oriented person, they're also going to be against the victim blame. So as we have a common enemy, whether it's in a group or a philosophy or whatever, that common enemy bonds you to the people that you want, right? I think I've made that point pretty clear. So also my magnetic 2, I have high value goodwill producer, and then my repulsive 2 is cookie cutter. I don't want any of those people. So basically I don't want anybody who's just a lazy bastard who refuses to provide value and has nothing of use to sell. Instead, I want the higher spectrum of my marketplace, those who are willing to work, have something valuable to provide, and are willing to do so. So why is this important? Okay, well, as we begin creating your marketing campaigns, right? Now, we're not going to do it in this particular exercise and in this module even, but as we start bonding with your subscribers after you get them, right? We're going to do so using all of these things that you want to use as magnets, and we're also going to be utilizing all these things which you want to use to repel the bad people, the bad apples from your life. And all of that's going to make everything else more effective. So I wanted to plant these seeds in your mind. I want you to go ahead and do this exercise, because as we go through the campaigns in Module 3, for example, when I'm showing you how to do all of these cool campaigns and results in advanced campaigns and dynamic behavioral campaigns and authority building campaigns and stuff, as we go through all of that, it'll make sense. You'll be able to refer to this and you'll say, oh man, yeah, okay, cool, this totally makes sense. Here's why I should say that, and so forth. So that's why we want to do it. Another reason why we want to do it is because not all traffic sources are created equal. If we go to an advertising source that attracts people over in the right column, the biz op bottom feeder or something for nothing guys, we might get a ton of leads, but they're not going to buy anything and they're going to be a pain in the ass. So we need to know where the right pathways are in your marketplace. I'll explain that more for you in another video. So this concludes these exercises. I know it's a little cerebral. I know it's a little weird. We're about to get a lot more tactical, but I want you to do them anyway because it helps us put the right wrapper on all of your material. And finally, what I've decided to do, I wasn't going to do this, but I found this presentation for you while I was creating this course. I want to give you a bonus presentation now about an exercise to really, really help you identify exactly who you're writing to. It's called the instant empathy exercise. And this exercise, I shot it a couple of years ago. I looked a lot different, as you're about to see. And I didn't show it to that many people. And it's very, very valuable. And this exercise as well is going to help you really get into the shoes of the ideal person you're wanting to attract, to really know what's going on in their life, know who they are. And again, the reason this is important is because we're going to influence this person. And the more we can bond with them, and of course, obviously, the more value we can provide for them and the more results we can help them get, the more compliant they're going to be with what we want them to do, and the more we're going to be able to influence them and the better customers they're going to be long term. So this concludes the official introductory video to Module 1. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and segue right into the bonus presentation about the instant empathy exercise. So thanks for watching this video. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through some stuff about how to actually start building the assets that attract your perfect people. And for now, watch this instant empathy. Go ahead and do that exercise as well that's in this one, and let's crush it. I'll see you in the next video. So now it's time for an exercise that I first taught in the mass control course. And this is of critical importance. And what we're going to do now, we're going to wrap up this little section by giving your prospect a name and really helping you visualize who this person is. Because what we're going to do from this point forward is we're going to be talking to this person that we create right now. And this exercise is called the instant empathy exercise. And it really allows you to get to know your subscriber. Because I have news for you. And I know we know this on a surface level, but very few people actually stop to think about it. All these subscribers we're talking about are people, right? So if I were to sit in a room with you, I'd be in a room with like a real person hanging out, a real person with like hopes, dreams, desires, emotions, and all that kind of stuff. So we need to stop thinking about a list as like this thing, a list, a number in an autoresponder account, and start understanding that we're dealing with people. And when we learn how to speak to these people in the language that best fits exactly who they are, what they want more than anything, what their biggest problem is, and how we can solve it, that's when we're really able to start making money. All right, so we start this instant empathy exercise by giving your prospect a name. All right? So write down the name of your prospect. And incidentally, we don't want to just guess. We want to draw all the conclusions that we're going to come to here in this section based on your experience from dealing with your marketplace. So if you don't have that experience yet, I got news for you. You need it. I'm not saying you need years or anything like I've had. You just need to spend a couple days. Go through their forums, right? Go find out all the stuff that they're buying. Read reviews of that product. Read who's using that product. Read who's selling that product. Go to their forum. Like if you want to learn about internet marketing community, you want to get in touch with like what the average beginner is like, go to the Warrior forum. Read all the posts. Learn about their concerns. Learn what's going on. Get their names. See, are most of them men? Are most of them women? Are they talking about grandchildren, meaning they're older? Are they talking about hopefully getting married, meaning they're younger? Do they mention girlfriends? Do they mention school parents? You can get all sorts of demographic data just by actually participating in the community. So it really helps in this critical step to actually do the work and put forth the effort. I mean, how can you really sell something to somebody if you don't know who they are and what they really want, right? One size fits all is not true when it comes to effective hardcore marketing that generates lots and lots of money, and that's my goal for you at the end of this, is to really generate for you lots of money. So let's work together to make that happen. So first, we want to write down their name. Second thing we want to do is we want to write down their gender, all right? Is this person a man or a woman? I'm going to draw a little picture of our person right here. We're going to give this person an identity, all right? Next thing we want to do, how old is this person, all right? So let's talk about their age. How old is this person? Obviously, you communicate with different generations of people in a much different manner, right? Like if I was going up to someone who's my grandfather's age and was like, yo, what's up, homie? I mean, how well do you think that would be accepted, right? Or if I called someone who fought alongside my grandfather's regiment in World War II in the Pacific Islands, if I referred to that man as dude, do you think that would go over very well? Hell no, it wouldn't. But if I talked to someone who's 19, I say, hey man, what's up? All right, dude, let me check this out, then that'd be fine, all right? So your language is very critical. You're not going to know what language to speak until you get all this kind of stuff. Now what I want you to do is describe this person's appearance. It is really hard for me to write and talk at the same time here.
There we go. I think I got that one right. So I think maybe it's because I'm looking weird, you know, down on the lettering. But anyway, describe their appearance, right? What do they wear? Like on an average day, what does this person wear? Do they wear jeans and a t-shirt? Do they wear surf shorts? Do they wear a suit and tie? Do they wear medical scrubs? What do they wear? We're trying to really give this person right here an identity. We're going to turn this list from a nameless, faceless thing into one person that represents the whole. So what are they wearing every day? Sounds a little bit weird. What are they wearing? Right? But that's not how I mean it. We want to find out who this person is. And you might even just be taking a guess at this next point. But what does this person do for a living? What is their occupation? Right? Are they largely going to be comprised of like professionals? Or are they people who are in the trades, for example? You know, are you dealing with mainly people who are in construction, plumbing, something like that? Or perhaps are you in some sort of, you know, medical professional or the scientific community, right? Every market is going to have usually an overlying majority of the people are in a certain type of occupation. For example, most people in the internet marketing community are professional, white collar. This is what I mean by professional, right? Like, you know, the white collar office-y type stuff. Not a lot of people in the internet marketing profession, snipers, for example. Very few snipers. A lot of white collar professionals. And finally, what other identifying traits does this person have? All right? Are they married? Are they single? Do they have children, grandchildren? Are they divorced? Have they been likely to have experienced past failures? Do they all have a single common identifying, unifying thing, such as a market of people who are divorced, or a market of people who have survived a particular disease, for example? Is there one common trait that they all really have that we haven't listed here? This is the time to really get to know that and put it down, right, in this little section, right? Other, married, children, so forth, common identifiers. Let's put that down so we can turn this little stick figure into a real person. So now, let me tell you a very, very freaky story, all right? So I'm looking at the actual exercise that I taught in Mass Control and Mass Control 2.0, and I was saying, I'm going to read this to you. This is some weird stuff right here. This is how powerful this is. So if I were doing this exercise and I was writing to my prospect from a beginner's marketing product, I'd be writing to a 45-year-old man named Bob. So let's do this. Who sells insurance. I'm reading this now because I've done this exercise, all right? Let's put INS to abbreviate for insurance, okay? Bob is married with 2 kids who drive him nuts. So I'm going to put M/2K just for married with 2 kids, right? Bob is married with 2 kids who drive him nuts, and his wife thinks he's an idiot for trying this internet stuff. All right. Oh, so I'll write wife, and I'll draw a little angry face there. Why are you buying this crap from these scam artists? You know what I mean? Have you ever heard that before, perhaps, from your significant other? He's about 25 pounds overweight. I'm just going to say overweight. Let's see. Wears glasses. I'm just drawing the glasses now for the sake of speed. Pretty good drawing of glasses, when you say. There, all right. He wears a short sleeve button-down shirt that's white. And khaki pants. His shoes are brown leather. So KP for khaki pants, BL for brown leather. All right, and you don't need to abbreviate yours. There's no point in me making you watch me write this stuff down. All right, so his biggest desire is to make enough money to quit his job, which pays him $48,000 a year. All right, 48K. That's important, especially in this context, because I'm selling stuff about money making. Not necessarily as important in your context if you're not selling that kind of stuff. But if you can get that data, then you might as well get it. You know, and even if you don't think you have it, just guess it, because this is about to trip you out beyond belief here. All right. His biggest desire is to make enough money to quit his job, which pays him $48,000 a year. His biggest problem is he doesn't know where to start, and he gets information overload because he sees so many promotions. All right? Does that sound familiar at all? So now let me tell you a crazy story. You remember that core influence presentation that I told you about? Or rather that you probably saw during the pre-launch. If you haven't seen it, you can go to getcoreinfluence.com and get it. It's great. It's wonderful, actually. It's some of my best work and will genuinely help you. So I did that presentation 2007 or something. I can't remember. 2007 or 2008 in Orlando, Florida. I literally wrote it out on the plane, right, on the way down there. Because I had just released Mass Control. I was like, you know, flavor of the month in the internet marketing world and all that stuff. And they're like, come do this seminar. And I was like, yeah, all right, what the hell. And I didn't want to get down there and like do lame pitch fest bullshit. I wanted to do something new, and I really wanted to help people. So I came up, I had this core influence concept in my mind, and I wrote out the presentation on the plane. I get to Orlando where I'm staying with John Reese at his house. John sleeps like 2 hours a year, right? So I finally get to do the presentation. I'm exhausted. I look horrible. You'll see the video. I mean, it's terrible in the thing, as opposed to how awesome I look today. You know what I mean? But I get there. I give the presentation. I discuss this exercise. When I'm finished, someone comes up to me from the crowd who has bought Mass Control, who has done this exercise, and they say, you're not going to believe this. This man introduced himself. His name was Bob. He was a man. He was 45 years, well, obviously he was a man. He was 45 years old. Bob did not have glasses, but he did have on brown khaki pants, white button-down shirt, short-sleeved, brown shoes. All right, leather. I think he made like $45,000 a year, so we were close enough. He was married. He had 2 children. The only difference that he said was his kids didn't drive him crazy. That was all. We described this person to a T. That's when I knew that this exercise was real. I did this exercise before ever meeting this man. He buys my stuff because I'm marketing specifically to him, right, throughout all of my presentation for that product. He buys this stuff. Months later, I'm at a seminar doing the presentation, talking about it. He comes up to me, he goes, I'm that guy that you determined was your average buyer in the instant empathy exercise. I'm that dude. How heavy duty is that? So don't you think that it is worth your time to take and do this seemingly bizarre and pointless exercise? If you can identify someone down to the actual person that makes up your ideal average client. So now when we're writing to that list, we're not writing to a nameless, faceless list of people that everyone else tries to tell you, it's just the list. We're writing to actual people, right? And when you write to actual people and you write from your heart with their best intentions in mind, that's when you get paid. That's when this stuff becomes effortless, right? That is really one of the sources of my magical powers for being such a great internet marketer, as they say. Thank you very much, people who say that, is this. So right now, we're defining who this person is. We're giving this person a face and a name, and here's the deal. For the rest of this course, and for the rest of your internet marketing career, your #1 focus is going to be on helping this person get what they want. And when you do this, you will prosper. I absolutely guarantee it. So let's move forward to the next section.